The hunting grounds of Xerion Prime stretched endlessly beneath twin crimson suns, a labyrinth of crystalline spires and phosphorescent valleys, where the galaxy's most dangerous predators gathered for the great hunt. Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the edge of the drop zone, her hands bound with energy shackles that hummed with alien technology. Around her, the assembled crowd of galactic hunters jeered and placed their bets. "A human," hissed Kraex the Render, his 4 arms flexing razor-sharp claws. "How pathetic. I give her 10 minutes before something tears her apart." The Vorthak delegation chittered in agreement, their insectoid mandibles clicking with amusement. Behind them, the hulking Gorvani war beasts stomped their massive hooves, eager for the entertainment to begin. Elena had studied them all during her 3 months in captivity. Every species that had contributed to humanity's enslavement after Earth's fall. "The human will provide sport for perhaps an hour," declared High Predator Xyloth, the ceremony's overseer. His serpentine body coiled around the observation platform as he addressed the crowd. "She is small, weak, and lacks the natural weapons of a true hunter. But she has shown cunning in her escape attempts. Perhaps that will make the hunt more interesting." Elena said nothing. She had learned the value of silence during her imprisonment, watching and listening as her captors revealed their weaknesses through their arrogance. The energy shackles fell away as the countdown began, and she flexed her fingers, feeling circulation return. 10 seconds until release," Xyloth announced. "Remember, hunters, the prey may not leave the boundaries of the hunting ground. All weapons are permitted. The one who brings me her head claims the honor of first predator." The barriers dissolved, and Elena ran. She had mapped the terrain during the transport flight, memorizing every detail visible from the ship's viewing ports. The crystalline spires weren't just decorative, they were ancient communication arrays, still partially functional. The phosphorescent valleys contained pools of reactive chemicals that had given the planet its reputation as a death trap. And the caves. The caves held something the hunters didn't know about. Behind her, she heard the thunderous roar as 24 of the galaxy's deadliest killers began their pursuit. The Vorthak took to the air on buzzing wings, while the Kraexian pack hunters spread out to flank her. The Gorvani simply charged straight ahead, their massive forms crushing everything in their path. Elena reached the first spire and began to climb. Her human fingers found purchase in the alien crystal structure, something the clawed appendages of her pursuers couldn't manage as easily. She had studied their anatomy during captivity, noting how their superior evolutionary adaptations came with trade-offs. The Kraexians' claws were perfect for rending flesh, but poor for delicate manipulation. The Vorthak's wings gave them speed, but made them vulnerable to atmospheric disturbances. The Gorvani's size made them powerful, but slow to change direction. Plasma bolts sizzled past her as she reached the spire's peak. Elena had anticipated this. She pulled out the makeshift device she had constructed from components stolen during her imprisonment. An electromagnetic pulse generator cobbled together from her captor's own technology. One pulse, carefully aimed at the spire's core, and the ancient crystal array came alive. The electromagnetic cascade rippled outward, overloading the Vorthak's bioelectrical navigation systems. They tumbled from the sky, their wings spasming uncontrollably. The pulse also activated dormant defense protocols in the other spires, and suddenly the hunters found themselves navigating a maze of energy barriers and automated defensive systems. Elena rappelled down the far side of the spire using her torn, clothing as rope. another skill that required the fine motor control her captors had dismissed as weakness. She could hear Kraex roaring in frustration as his pack struggled to follow her path through the now active defense grid. The phosphorescent valley lay ahead, its chemical pools glowing with bioluminescent reactions. Elena had recognized the compounds. During her initial observation, they were similar to substances used in human industrial processes, but unlike her pursuers, she understood how to manipulate them. She waded into the shallow pools, her human skin tolerating the mild alkalinity that would have burned the more sensitive dermis of the Kraexians. Moving from pool to pool, she began mixing chemicals, using her knowledge of human chemistry to create compounds that her alien hunters had never encountered. The first Kraexian pack reached the valley's edge just as Elena finished her preparations. They hesitated at the water's edge, their predatory instincts warning them of danger, but their pride driving them forward. When Kraex himself leaped into the pool, Elena triggered her chemical reaction. The explosion wasn't destructive. It was strategic. The chemical chain reaction created a dense, toxic fog that played havoc with the hunter's enhanced senses, while barely affecting Elena's more generalized human sensory systems. In the chaos, she systematically eliminated the Kraexian pack using their own weapons. Weapons she had learned to use by watching their training sessions during her captivity. By the time the fog cleared, Elena stood alone among the fallen Kraexians, Kraex's energy rifle in her hands. The Gorvani war beasts, finally, crashed into the valley, their massive forms easily traversing the chemical pools. But Elena was no longer there. She had used the cover of the toxic fog to reach the caves she had spotted earlier, caves that her geological knowledge told her led to the planet's volcanic core. What the hunters didn't know was that Xerion Prime's reputation as a death trap wasn't because of its surface dangers. It was because the planet itself was unstable, its core barely contained by ancient containment systems that were failing. Elena had recognized the signs during her preliminary observation. The remaining hunters followed her into the caves, confident that they had cornered their prey. High Predator Xyloth himself descended from his observation platform, eager to personally deliver the killing blow to the human who had embarrassed his chosen hunters. They found Elena standing before the core containment chamber, her hands working on the alien control systems with impossible speed and precision. The Gorvani charged, but she had already activated the sequence. "You think you understand predation?" Elena said, speaking for the first time since the hunt began. Her voice echoed through the cavern as emergency lights bathed everything in red. "But you've forgotten the most important rule about being a predator." The containment field fluctuated, and volcanic energy began seeping into the chamber. The idea, hunters realized too late what she had done. Always make sure your prey isn't more dangerous than you are. Elena triggered the emergency transport beacon she had constructed from the Kraxian equipment, another piece of human engineering that combined multiple alien technologies in ways their original creators had never imagined. As the transport beam activated, she looked directly at High Predator Xyloth. "The hunt is over," she said, "and I win." The transport beam pulled her away just as the containment system failed completely. Xerion Prime's core destabilized in a cascade reaction that would render the planet uninhabitable for centuries. Elena materialized aboard the stolen Kraexian vessel she had prepared during her escape, its automated systems already plotting a course for human resistance territory. Behind her, the hunting ground of Xerion Prime became a funeral pyre for the galaxy's most feared predators. They had seen her as prey, small, weak, and defenseless. They had failed to understand that humanity's greatest strength had never been physical prowess or natural weapons. It was adaptability, intelligence, and the stubborn refusal to give up even when facing impossible odds. As Elena set course for home, she smiled grimly. The galaxy was about to learn a new definition of predator, and humanity was ready to teach it.